Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful Rabbit Hole King, DL Lauren Foray, Grim Clover, Internet Bloodsports, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon. I'm not sure exactly how to get started on this because I've been reading a lot of One Piece, and initially I was trying to do it volume by volume, uh, trying to get through this entire thing, uh, do a video review of each individual volume as I went through it, and do a blow by blow analysis of what I think of the characters and what's going on and stuff like that. I was very strongly encouraged not to do that because of the pacing of the story and stuff like that, but I was very, 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 very determined to do it this way because I felt like I had a lot of things to say. I feel like there's a lot of things to talk about. I felt like there was a lot of things I wanted to do it that way. And the reason I changed my mind, honestly, was more due to the fact that I really really realized that I personally really hate reaction channels and reactor content. I would rather just consume the story and then just talk about it at at my discretion, all right? Rather than just an arbitrary oh, we'll talk about every single volume. We'll talk about individual moments as I feel like they're important. And over the past couple of volumes, I've been really wanting to talk about one thing in particular, or a lot of things in particular. Again, but the downside when I do videos this way is that there's so much to talk about. I don't even know where to start. But I think the big thing that I've noticed is I really did not like the manga all the from from Logtown all the way up until the end of the Foxy saga, right? Alabasta, Skypiea, and the Foxy shit were all incredibly lower. Were all noticeably lower quality than the content we've gotten up to that point. All right, the first part of the manga is awesome, right? It starts off a little slow. Buggy's not a great villain. Buggy kind of sucks, but Don Krieg, Arlong, Kura, all of that stuff is awesome, right? Really good manga, really creative, very original, a lot of fun. But by the time they get to the Grand Line, after all this hype, for the up to into the entire run, about how dangerous of a place it is, how distinct it is, how special it is, how many dangerous pirates are on the sea. I found myself very very underwhelmed by what they decided to focus on immediately because when they first get to the Grand Line, the entire thing kind of shifts into the Alabasta saga, in which for a long period of time the Straw Hats aren't really relevant, right? Vivi is the protagonist for the Alabasta saga, and the Straw Hats are just kind of there. They basically just beat people up for her whenever they show up. The Alabasta saga is not interesting, right? There's nothing about the kingdom that's compelling. There's nothing about the political situation that's interesting. There's nothing about the villain that really sticks with you as being something that really that really uh, that really matters a whole lot to the overarching plot. Crocodile is a seven warlord of the sea, but when you compare him to Mihawk, who by the way destroyed Zoro when they fought, the comparison isn't even you can't even really compare the two because Luffy manages to figure out Crocodile's weakness and beat him, and it's very anticlimactic. There's nothing good about Alabasta. I feel I don't feel invested in the characters. I don't feel invested in the setting. I don't really feel like anything really. I think all the enemies, just most of the enemies, just aren't all that interesting. I think the only really good thing about this, I think, is that ending sequence where the king is having that conversation with Nika Robin, where she's starts talking about the true history of the world, which seems to be a big major plot point, and that seems very very interesting. And then they did a very poor job setting up Nico Robin. All right, she doesn't do a lot throughout the entire arc. She's just kind of there, and then in the end, she just kind of joins the crew, and they just kind of let her do that. And in Skypiea, she proves herself to be the MVP. She's by far I would say the most interesting character in Skypiea. Like nothing really happens in Skypiea either. Like Skypiea had such a good setup. Like it was so much better than anything in Alabasta, right? Where you have this like mythical land that like no one knows how to get to. That's this part of the world that like just does not believe that there is like an island in the sky, right? And then they have to like go through the motions of like finding someone who can like help them up there, like figuring out the process, like going through like the background lore. All of it is like so interesting. And then like they get to Skypiea, and then like they basically just see two islands, one of which is just a normal island that was like blasted into the sky. There is a cool element of like mystery to it, like I said, like Nico Robin and Name do a lot of make a lot of cool like observations about the culture there, about how like things work in the sky, about how the vegetation is more overgrown, like the archaeology, like the architecture, ruins, like it's all like very compelling stuff. But like again, the actual plot is just they basically just go to an island that they're not supposed to be on, and they have to fight God. And it's like he's not even like halfway through the Grand Line yet, and he's already fighting God. It's like okay, and then like the way he beats God is like the biggest cop out I think I've seen in any manga ever. Oh man, his lightning attacks don't work because he's made of rubber. Like it's a cool idea, but at the same time, it's like I generally liked Anaru a lot more than Crocodile. I found him like way more interesting powers, like way more intimidating, way more like absolute. He had way more absolute control over Skypiea than Crocodile did. Oh, that's one of the reasons I hate Alabasta, by the way, because if you get right down to it, if Luffy never showed up, if Vivi just died in like Whiskey Peak or whatever, like Crocodile still would have failed to achieve his goals of obtaining the Pluton, because Nico Robin would still have told him to like it wasn't there, right? Because he couldn't read the Ponteglyph. So like basically everything you accomplish in Alabasta means absolutely nothing. And before Water 7, which really seems to have gotten things back on track when it comes to like world building wise and stuff like that. Like I was about to make this comment, which I felt very strongly. Like considering this was like a couple of hundred chapters of this shit, I felt that the island sections in One Piece were becoming filler. Because I feel like both Skypiea and Alabasta, especially in the case of Skypiea, have had nothing to do with the rest of the plot, had nothing to do with like what was going on in the Grand Line, these fights between pirates. And like the thing that I noticed, whenever I got like excited, whenever there was like something legitimately like awesome, it was like related to like the Navy or the pirates on the Grand Line. Like people like Whitebeard, people like Shanks, people like Doflamingo, people like Bellamy. Like those people were so much more interesting than anything we saw in like the Skypiea and Alabasta. Like these independent islands have nothing to do with the search for the One Piece, with the quest to become king of the pirates. And even now, like 300 chapters in, we still have no idea like what exactly the One Piece is, or what claiming it means, or why like someone else just doesn't declare themselves like the king of the pirates. Like they describe Whitebeard as being like the closest man to One Piece, but we have no idea what that means. They're very vague about certain aspects of the plot, and it's very frustrating because before Water 7, I was about to say that like it feels like the story is just padded out to fuck. There is no reason for most of these characters to exist. I don't care about Noland. I don't care about like his relationship with like Jaya or whatever. I don't give a shit about like Vivi or Alabasta. Like I want to see like pirates fighting other pirates to claim the One Piece. Like the world building aspect. Like the individual islands just don't have anything to do with that aspect. And that seems to be changing a little bit with Water 7. I'm only about halfway through, Like right now, where I am in the manga, Nika Robin is evil or something, or like they're implying she's evil, which kind of goes back into what I said about Alabasta, which she just kind of joins out of nowhere, and they just kind of let her do it. Like why? Like that doesn't it didn't make any sense to me. And now they're like building this up as like, ooh, it was a bad idea to do that. Well, I wouldn't have let her on the ship. She never did anything. Like I'm not like I like Robin as a character, but like the way she was introduced in Alabasta and the way she joined the crew, I'm not a fan of. One of the reasons I like Water Seven so much is that it just seems like the characters actually feel like they have like something to do with the overarching plot. Like it feels like we're actually going somewhere for the first time in a long time. And I'm curious just how uh, I don't think it should have taken this long to get to Nico Robin's backstory. I remember like 20 years ago, well, not 20 years ago, like 15 probably, 15 years ago, watching like the fucking Four Kids dub of One Piece and getting to like the Nico Robin thing of like, holy shit, she has an 18 million bounty. She has like a 68 million bounty on berry bounty on her head because she took out like 18 warships. And I was just like, holy fucking shit. I cannot wait to see what this girl is all about. And then like you go through the rest of Alabasta, you get nothing more about that. You go through Skypiea, you get nothing about that. And now like only only in Water 7 are they starting to like imply that there's like get into like more of Nico Robin's backstory. I don't know. Like at this stage, I'd say that like Robin is becoming my favorite character. I don't know. Like Nami, I love Nami a lot. The thing about Nami is that it feels like the story, her story has been kind of concluded already. You know, like her entire original character arc was about getting the money to like save her village from Arlong, but now we're kind of past that, and she's just kind of part of the crew. And like it really does feel like she's playing second fiddle to Robin at this point, who's like the much more relevant female character. And I'm very disappointed. I'm a big Name fan. It feels like they weren't able to like really adequately grow her character at all. Like I was about to say before like Water 7 happened that like I was beginning to wonder if like, maybe it would have been possible to like just kind of blend the two characters together. Like just have like Name develop an interest in archaeology and like start figuring out some of the history of the world shit. Like I was wondering if like having Robin join the crew was even necessary. Because like a big thing I've said I was saying like at the beginning of the Grand Line, it's that I was beginning to feel like the new characters weren't as interesting as the old ones, right? Like I hated Chopper right from the onset, and I hated Nico Robin initially. Uh, I was telling people for a while there that like yeah I feel like the crew really should have just been composed of those original five people, but like no we are going to get new crewmates. I know that. I think we've met one already in Water 7 if my like knowledge of One Piece is correct. Knowledge of like One Piece I haven't read yet is correct. I think we're gonna get someone very soon. So I am just what else was I gotta get at? I am was there something else I wanted to talk about? Like I said, I keep losing my train of thought. There was so much I wanted to discuss. It felt like I could go on for like an hour talking about like some of my speculations or whatever. I think I lost it. Fuck. Well, anyway, like I can always just make new videos, like amending some subjects or like talking about some stuff. But like I do think that like the manga is back on track to being great, right? Like I do think that like a lot of this stuff should have been cut down. It should have been like a lot quicker. Like I really do have a problem with all of these like needless side characters that don't really seem to be doing a lot. That just kind of exist. It just feels like I would rather just be a more focused story with our protagonists like actually doing things and that has felt it has felt that way for a while now. Is that like a lot of the crewmates just don't feel like they do anything in a lot of these arcs, right? Like they have like one thing they do in any given saga, and it's just getting kind of frustrating. It just feels like a lot of them aren't developing as characters. Now I say a lot of them, but like again, like one of the reasons I'm liking Water 7 so much is that it really is demonstrating some very real character growth. on part of like Robin, Luffy, and especially Usopp. I think Usopp. I think Usopp's development is very, very interesting, in which he like picked a fight with Luffy and like actually tried to fight him. Now he's not gonna win, but the fact that he tried like really says a lot about like his development over the past couple of arcs. And the interesting thing is, that moment really should have just been focused on Usopp, I feel like. But what really surprised me was that how Luffy handled the situation. All right, because it was really interesting to me how like the series like depicted this as like Luffy taking on his role as captain, and like there was no like moment where like he had to step up, like he just kind of did it. And like the characters all like pointed this out, and I realized it was true as well. Luffy is that captain, right? Like it's easy to forget this sometimes, considering how he acts and like the typical nature of the series. But like Luffy, Luffy made a decision, and Usopp did not want to go along with it, and so Luffy had to put him in his place. Like it was like a really good moment in like an arc that's already shaping up to be very, very good. And like the plot line doesn't seem to be over yet. It seems like at they're going to be developing this further, which is very intriguing to me. I am very curious about like how they're going to handle some of these characters going forward. And like another thing, honestly, it feels like the only character that hasn't really done anything or like grown in any meaningful capacity is like Chopper. Like Chopper has like some of the worst fights in like One Piece history. Like fuck this guy. Like the guy he fought on Skypiea just like fell through the mud, and like I think he like sunk through the clouds and went to like the blue sea, and now he's like dicking around down there. Like Chopper didn't do shit. Like Chopper is just fucking hate Chopper. Like I don't I don't know why he's there. Like I think I like the witch more than Chopper. Like shit. Um, I'm curious just how they're going to develop this develop this arc further, and I'm very excited about One Piece has in store for us in the future.